Hello YouTube, it's Jay, and today we're going to talk about the third of the 8-ball brakes in our Braking Good series. Now today's brake is one that I personally don't use, mainly because the probabilities of it happening are pretty low. But this is the brake that everybody knows as the 8-ball brake. This is the one where you're trying to pocket the 8-ball in the side pocket. So this brake is, there are some conditions for it, and I want to talk about how it actually works. So if you have a frozen rack and you just hit it, everything spreads out and the 8 stays roughly where it is. And the reason it stays where it is because it has equal pressure on all sides. And as they spread out, the momentum this way is canceled by these balls holding it in place. And so it ends up staying right where it is. Now, on the 8-ball brake, the idea is to, when your 8-ball goes straight into the side, what has happened is the 2 and the 5, in this case, are not touching the 8 and everything else is. So as the pressure comes in, it hits the 4 ball, the 15 and the 9, push the 8 this way, which causes it to carom off of the 6 and up in this general direction. Okay, but for that to happen, neither the 2 nor the 5 can be touching the 8. So if you look at the rack and everything's frozen but the 2 and the 5 are loose, there's a fair chance that 8's going to head towards the pocket. Now, is it going to fall in? Maybe, maybe not. There's all kinds of things that come into play. You may get collisions with other balls that cause it either to fall in or to not fall in. The speed of it, it moves very slowly when this happens. It doesn't jet into the pocket. It just kind of wanders in that direction and falls in. That's how it happens when it goes straight into the pocket. Now, when it's kicked in, which in my experience is much more often, what happens is everything's frozen and these balls tend to move out like this. These balls tend to move out like that, and the 8-ball will wander just slightly because of the pressure coming from the side you're braking from. And the bottom ball in the rack will come down, hit that, come up, and cut the 8 into the side. Okay, so the conditions for using this brake are that, let me put the battery back in the bottom so you can see where it was. So the conditions for using this brake are that everything's frozen except potentially the 13 and the 14. Now, neither one of the 2 8-ball brakes will work if the 3 is not frozen to the, in this case, the 11 and the 6. So if this 3 is slightly back, it is impossible to make the 8-ball. But that's actually good news for you, because when the 8 is slightly, or the 3 is slightly back like that, it changes the way the rack breaks open. And when you make balls, or when you brake, you tend to make balls. And in fact, my biggest 8-ball brake ever, I made 4 of each group. I made 4 stripes and 4 solids. I ended up with the remaining 3 stripes spread out on this end, the remaining 3 solids were spread out on this end, and the 8-ball was sitting up here with the cue ball in the center of the table. You just can't get any better than that. But that happened because the 3-ball was loose. Okay, so your conditions for using this brake to make the 8-ball are that everything, all of it, with the exception of the 13 and the 14, must be frozen. The 13 and the 14, if they are not frozen, the 8 will tend to wander straight towards the pocket. If they are frozen, the 8 will tend to just drift slightly to the side, and the bottom ball will come up and kick it towards the side pocket. Those are the 2 ways this brake works. Now, how do you execute this brake? Well, this brake's very similar to brake number 2, the defensive brake, in that you're going to come to the very side, as far to the side as you can get, and you're going to break this with bottom inside English. So on this side of the table, it would be bottom right hand English. And you're hitting the 2 as full as you can because you need as much transfer of energy into the 8 as possible. Aiming point on this is the same as it was for break number 2. We're going to aim in the crack between the 3 and the 4. That's our break, that's our area when we're breaking from that side. When we're breaking from that side, our initial aiming point is going to be between 3 and the 15. So I also want to talk a little bit about table size and how that affects this break. So if you're using standard 2 1/4 inch balls and you're on a 9-foot table, that 8 comes out in this direction and hits the rail somewhere around here. Now if you're on an 8-foot table, then the relative placement of the balls doesn't change. However, the real placement of the balls does. So as they compare to the side. So where here on a 9-foot table, the angle that that's coming out is here, right? Okay, so let's say right here. Okay, well on an 8-foot table, this pocket is 6 inches closer, right? And the rack is 3 inches further back. So ultimately, on an 8-foot table, this 8 ball is going to hit 1.5 inches closer. On a 7-foot table, it's going to hit 3 inches closer. On a 6-foot table, it's going to hit about 4.5. Guess what? On a 6-foot table, this break shot is a great shot. So the other thing to know about that is that with us spinning the ball towards the end rail, a surprising amount of time, the cue ball will come over and spin down into one of the 2 corners, coming across the table, this corner, or occasionally just hitting here and coming this way. The draw should prevent this, but a surprising amount of the time that does happen. In this case, we're hitting with bottom inside English, which means that the cue ball is spinning counterclockwise, like this. Well, if the ball is spinning like this, when it comes to this rail, where does it go? It goes down towards the end rail, okay? So, I don't want to control the cue ball to be down here. I want to control the cue ball to be out here, right? So, this break has a lot of pitfalls to it. I don't like it, but I'm showing it to you because it is one of the most popular breaks there is, because of that wow factor when the 8 ball does fall in. Okay, so I don't use this break, and the reason I don't use this break is because it seems that when you break with this, you get a pretty wide open break, but if something doesn't fall in, you sell out to your opponent. And if you're trying to break, if you're shooting any shot, you should be committed to the shot you're making. So if you're shooting to break and make the 8 ball, that's your goal. And anything else that happens is irrelevant because you're shooting to make the 8. Now, this does have a decent chance of making the ball, and a lot of people use it because it kind of has a mix of, it's kind of a mix of the balls break open, I have a decent chance to make a ball, and oh, by the way, sometimes the 8 falls in, and I win the game. Now, I personally prefer break number 1 because I always make, well, just about always make a ball. I always have a wide open table and I'm controlling the cue ball. Our criteria for this is, did we make the 8 ball? That's 1, and I'm going to bet that we don't, ever. Number 2 criteria is that, did we make a ball and get a shot? And number three, and number three, which we will consider good. Number three will be, did we make a ball and not get a shot? And number four will be, did we not make a ball? So we'll track those four statistics for this one. We're going to do all 10 breaks. We're going to do our 10 breaks. Hey, we got one. So you saw there that the 3-ball came up and kicked it towards the pocket, and it got a little help along the way. We got one. Woo! All right, so those are the results from our 8-ball break from the side, trying to make the 8 in the side. We actually got one, which is surprising to me, but there's a takeaway here. And the takeaway is, if you think about what happened through those 10 breaks, there were 2 of them, I think, where I made a ball and had a shot. I'll go back and look at that number, but I think there are 2 of them where I made a ball and had a shot. There was one 8-ball break. That is a 30% chance of being able to actually run out and not wait your opponent to the table. 30%. If you are looking at this from a competitive angle, talking about tournament play, high-level players, high-level amateur, and up into the pros, 30% chance of having a 30% chance of running the table, of having an opportunity to win from the break is not high enough. You need to be 50% plus to have that opportunity. And you really, in reality, need to be 60% plus, because some of those runs aren't going to happen. You're going to get out of line. You're going to have to play safe, whatever. You should be, at the highest level, you should be breaking and running about 30% of the racks, okay? And if you only have the opportunity to break and run 30%, you're not going to get there. If you are 60% or higher, like we were on the break from the center, the one that I did is break number 1 for 8-ball. If you're up above 60%, having a break, an open table, and a shot on the ball, you are going to win more games. Now, this is a fun break for when you're in a bar drinking and shooting. It's a fun break, and it actually works better in a bar than it does on a tournament class table, because the side pocket's wider, and the side pocket is more in line with the natural angle the 8 comes out of the rack. So if you're out having fun, by all means use it. It's a fun break. You will find that you're not running very many tables from there, and the odds of making the 8 are still, even if I made 3 of them, I'd still be prohibitively low to use it in tournament play. So anyhow, this is break number 3, which is make the 8-ball in the side break. It is the last break in the 8-ball series. I'll be doing my 1 pocket break for the next break. If you like what you saw, hit like, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.